Well, I don't want to sound like mom, but where have you been? There's been a lot of stuff going on here, Mr. Koonin. And we're like, hey, get Steve Koonin on the line. And all we hear is, Koonin is not available to take your call. Where have you been?
I've been on vacation.
How was it?
It was great. It was great. Thank you for asking and complaining about it.
Well, we have to do
All right,
that.
rub it in his face, Steve. Where'd you go?
We went to a beautiful place called Longboat Key, Florida, right off the coast of Sarasota with our family and our grandkids. We had a terrific time.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the time off that you allowed me.
Well, listen, there was a lot of stuff going on. And by the way, that's a treasure down there. Great restaurants, really beautiful
Exactly.
water. Yeah, we like Longboat. All right. Let's talk about, and not necessarily in order, because there is a lot of stuff that has happened. Steve Koonin, Hawks CEO, joining us. John in for Mike today. Guys, Mike is out, speaking of vacation. All right, we re-signed Dejounte Murray, and part of the questions that we've gotten, Steve, is, hey, the importance of re-signing your own guys. Did that trump us being in the free agent market when it seemed like everybody else was maybe doing things? I don't know if that was the situation, or was this the plan all along?
Well, it was the hope all along to re-sign Dejounte, but please don't forget, his new salary doesn't start to next year, so it didn't impact free agency one iota.
Okay.
So we extended him. So he's under contract with us for this year under the old salary and then 4 more under the new salary. So it didn't have any kind of effect. And as far as free agency goes, we were looking at, some folks, and I wouldn't say there was a ton of movement this year. But, conversations continue. I was listening before our session started, and you were talking about the trade deadline for the Braves. We're under no deadline, at all. So our season is set up a bit differently, and there's conversations going on literally with multiple teams as we speak.
Multiple teams as we speak. Steve Koonin, Hawks CEO on Dukes and Bell. Steve, John Fricke here. Obviously, I'm not a GM. I just play one on the radio. But I'm kind of curious, how do you deal? Do you look at what the Twitter GMs say and just kind of chuckle?
No, I don't look at them. I made that rookie mistake the first couple of years, and I do have kids who look at them and call me in a panic. Hey, this guy, he only posts when he knows it's right, and then he deletes his account and comes back. And by the way, the guy's had some stuff right. I will give him credit. He's had some stuff right, but no, I don't do that. Somebody asked me once, do you play fantasy sports? And I said, ironically, I actually run a team, so I don't need to play fantasy sports. Fantasy is more fun because there's more action, and there's more immediate gratification. But doing this, you got to make the right moves for the teams. We've been very active, but I don't think a lot of people are giving us a big credit for Ty Washington.
Listen, the roster's still being formed. We're still a few months away from the start of training camp. We saw Coach Quinn out there in L.A. in Vegas. Dejounte was out there. Trey was out there, which leads me to my next question, Steve, which is the new the play-in tournament, not play-in, but in-season tournament. And as it was described, I got to be honest, when they announced that last Saturday, when the commission was talking about it and they had the big thing in Vegas, Trey was a part of the group that was out there. I'm sitting there and I'm going, I didn't like the play-in tournament when it started, and now I love it. And I hope I feel the same way about this in-season tournament because we just don't have a feel for it yet. But after this season, maybe it will start to catch on and fans will start to get a better feel for it. How do you feel about the announcement with the NBA?
I've been a big advocate for the past couple of years about it. We'll have a different floor. We'll have new jerseys for it. The games will be cup nights. They'll feel different. It's a long season, and one of the biggest problems going from business to sports that I've had is in business, you can be number 2 or number 3 in the category you compete and be wildly successful. And in sports, it's an absolute. You either win the championship or win a great season. And so the idea is to create more opportunities to win. And also, let's be honest, the beginning of the season doesn't get the notoriety that we wish it does. The NFL and college football, especially in our part of the geography, is incredibly powerful. So by creating something new and different over time, and I don't think it's going to be as immediate as the play-in. The play-in was just really smart, real life and death consequences. Ironically, we beat the Eastern Conference champs, blew them out of the building, in the play-in this year. So I think this long-term will be a very interesting thing. And if you take a step back and you think about it, how cool would it be when international teams compete in the NBA Cup, and NBA Africa has a team, and NBA Europe has a team, and NBA Asia has a team, and then literally it's starting to look like the World Cup, but of basketball.
Steve Koonin, Hawks CEO. Steve, you mentioned the contract extension for Dejounte, and both Trey and Dejounte seem to be pretty excited about it. So what do you expect to be different in year two of this combination, and what Quinn Snyder will ask of them? Will we see a noticeable kind of change in how the two interact and their roles on the court?
Oh, I absolutely think so. First of all, let's be honest. Quinn didn't have time to put his system in place, nor did he have his assistants and coaches. And, we've assembled a very, very diverse, unique, and powerful coaching staff that are working with the players. And Dejounte will be in Atlanta all of August and September getting ready, and Trey will be in early. So they're working together. So the pieces of the puzzle have to work together. And obviously last year there was it wasn't as smooth as we would like it. There were nights that it was great. There were nights where, you could see the frustration. And what we're all hoping, and what Dejounte and Trey spent a lot of time together in Vegas. They've been working out together. So, and they will play as a unit, and good Lord willing, it'll be the best backcourt in the NBA.
Yeah, we all hope that's the case. It's Steve Koonin, Hawks CEO. He normally joins us later in the show on Fridays, scheduling situation, guys. So he wanted to jump on earlier today, and we're glad he did, because we have a lot of NBA stuff that's going on, a lot of questions about what's happening. NBA also changes the flop rule. Players pretty outspoken about this. Every time the NFL does something with their competition committee, Steve, we all applaud and go, oh, they're brilliant. Hey, they're changing. They're trying to adjust. NBA does something, and it's like, wait a minute. Why are they doing this? What do you make of the new rules that have been changed?
I think that it's gotten so theatrical sometimes that when you watch some of these flops in isolation on an ESPN or something, they're comical, and it's not the spirit of the competition. Now, I think it's going to be incredibly hard to determine what is a flop and what is inadvertent contact. So all I hope is it doesn't slow down the game, with multiple reviews. But I think the rule is a good rule. We don't have a lot of floppers, so I feel pretty good about it. If we would have had, I think Miami, has a lot of floppers.
Yeah. The new rule, guys, penalty for flopping results in a technical foul free throw. So, again, if that happens late in the game, think about that.
Yeah.
That could change the result.
Right. Suddenly you get, that tech makes a lot of difference here. Steve, I want to go back to something you said kind of earlier in the interview here. You said that you're still, the team is still exploring, kind of consulting, talking with, however you put it, with multiple teams, because the offseason is continuing here. I know that if I'm listening in my car, my reaction is, do you expect that the team is going to be able to make a move? If so, when? Or is it just a case where it's got to be the right move, or you're not going to be able to do anything?
Well, we don't want to do anything unless we believe it's the right move. And so I'm not going to put a time limit on it, because I don't think that's, credible or accurate. You always want to improve your team, and every team wants to improve their team. And you have a lot of different conversations. You have conversations, you have ideas, you call teams with ideas. Teams are calling us with ideas. And when those ideas click, it usually turns into action. We've been, close on several deals, and they've fallen apart because of one reason or the other. We've had teams call us that we like their idea. We have teams that call us and we alter their idea. So it's just part of, what happens and what goes on in today's NBA. And then with the new CBA, in 2 years, the cap and the second apron are just going to really impact the game differently. So you got to kind of play a little three-dimensional chess now, and it's not about how quickly you can do something, but how you do things for the long term. And that's one of the reasons a very good Dejounte contract, which I'm not sure anybody thought we were going to re-sign him to a 4-year extension, but that came out of the new CBA, which allowed us to extend him at a higher rate than we would have been able to before. He would have gone into free agency under the old CBA, but the new CBA, this particular rule, was trying to encourage players to stay with their teams, and that's why we were able to get this deal done. While it's a tremendous amount of money, he's an incredible player, and we couldn't be happier.
Steve, last thing before we let you go, and again, appreciate the time coming off of vacay. I'm sure you're tanned and your abs look amazing. Listen, what was the in-house? There was a lot of in-house promotions that happened a few weeks ago, and I'm just wanting to understand all of that. I don't even know if it was a shakeup or these were planned, assessments as far as how you viewed certain individuals in the organization, whether it was the front office on the business side or the basketball side. But we've talked about this, and I'm curious to know where all of that came from and how the shuffling transpired.
So it happens every year. We're on where most of the world lives on a calendar year. The basketball world lives on a different fiscal year. It starts July 1st and it ends June 30th. A lot of times, like, we couldn't announce Dejounte until July 6th. We couldn't even start negotiating with him until, July 6th. And you see us announce Patty Mills like a day ago when you read it on the internet a week ago.
Right.
And so we're on a different year. And usually all of your promotions for your company come in late June, early July at the end of the year. So it was no shakeup or different. Those were people in the responsibility, but we never went public, nor did we renewed their contracts at the beginning of the fiscal year. So kind of much ado about nothing, to be honest with you.
Okay. A lot of fans saw that, and they thought, when you see a lot of new names getting new positions or being advanced, you wonder if this is a shakeup in the organization. And you're saying, no, this is normal promotions.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we did change our coach and our general manager. We brought on significant amount of new staff, new training staff. Coaches want their people, and our GM, brought on people, and will continue to evolve, our staff over time. But if you announce them at this time, I think in NASCAR they call it the silly season. When everybody kind of changes teams and sponsors. And in the NBA, it's the end of the fiscal year when this happens. So, no, this is 100% par for the course.
Well, Steve, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.
Back to work. You're with us next week, regular time?
Oh, yeah. Back to work, man. Just meetings today.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you again.
But we love our sponsors, and that's who we're seeing today.
Oh, well, so. We do, too. And tell your sponsors that 92.9 The Game said hi. All right, Steve, have a great weekend. We'll talk soon.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Steve Koonin, guys.